Let me ask you something. How many hours a week do you spend doing things you already know how to do, but doing them slowly, manually, inefficiently, because you either can't afford to hire someone or you just don't know there's a faster way? Writing emails, researching, planning budgets, studying concepts you want to understand, building things that feel too complicated to start alone. Now, here's the part that's going to bother you a little. Right now, there is a tool that can do most of that in seconds. Not perfectly, but good enough to save you dozens of hours a month. Hours you could spend building income learning faster or simply making better financial decisions. And the majority of people using it are treating it like a fancy Google search. They ask it what the capital of France is, they use it to fix a typo, and then they close the tab. Meanwhile, a small group of people, quietly without making a lot of noise about it, are using the exact same tool to compress years of financial learning into weeks. They are using it to build businesses at a fraction of the traditional cost, and to make money moves that used to require an expensive accountant, financial advisor, or MBA. Today, I want to show you how that second group thinks and how you can join them. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about how artificial intelligence is changing the math of building wealth. If you're someone who feels like you're working hard but not actually getting ahead, like the gap between where you are and where you want to be financially just isn't closing fast enough, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today we're talking about Claude, Anthropic's AI, and specifically how to use it as a genuine wealth building tool. Not a gimmick, not a shortcut that doesn't work. An actual practical lever that changes what's possible for someone at your income level with your time constraints and your current knowledge. Let's get into it. Challenge the common belief. Here's the thing about getting rich that nobody wants to admit. It's not really about working harder. Almost everyone who's financially stuck is already working hard. It's about the asterisk ratio asterisk between the value you create and the time it takes you to create it. Think about that for a second. A lawyer who charges $300 an hour isn't working 300 times harder than someone earning minimum wage. They've just found a way to deliver more value per hour. Their knowledge, their positioning, their systems, all of those things increase the value of each unit of their time. Now here's where Claude comes in, and this is the part most people completely miss. Claude is not just a chatbot that answers questions. It's a tool that can dramatically increase the value of your time if you know how to use it. Let me give you a concrete example of what I mean. The average person spends somewhere between 5 and 15 hours a month on financial admin, reading about topics they're trying to learn, drafting things, planning, researching options, figuring out concepts that feel too complicated to understand alone. What if that same work took 2 hours instead of 15? What would you do with the other 13 hours? That's not a hypothetical. That's what's available right now. And the people who figure that out first have a genuine compounding advantage over everyone who doesn't. The statistics that put this in perspective. Look, I want to give you some real numbers here because I think they reframe this completely. A 2024 study by MIT found that workers who used AI assistants completed tasks of similar quality in about half the time compared to those who didn't. 50% faster, same output, half the time. Now apply that to wealth building specifically. The number one reason most people give for not building wealth is time. They don't have time to learn about investing. They don't have time to start a side business. They don't have time to research financial strategies. They don't have time to build the skills that would increase their income. What if that reason just got cut in half? Because here's what most people don't realize. The limiting factor in most financial journeys isn't money, it's knowledge and time. You need to understand enough to make good decisions. You need enough time to take action. Claude doesn't give you money, but it absolutely changes both of those constraints if you use it intentionally. Core explanation. The 5 ways Claude builds wealth. This is where it gets really interesting, because there isn't just one way Claude helps you build wealth. There are 5 distinct categories, and each one compounds the others. Number 1, financial education on demand. Here's the problem with traditional financial education. It's either too basic, generic advice that applies to nobody specifically, i.e., or too complex and expensive, hiring advisors, taking courses, getting degrees. Claude sits in a completely different space. It can explain compound interest index funds, tax-advantaged accounts, real estate fundamentals, or options trading at exactly the level you need in plain language with examples that match your specific situation. And here's the key thing. You can ask follow-up questions. You can say, I didn't understand that part, explain it differently. You can say, give me a real dollar example with my actual income. You can go as deep as you want at your own pace completely free. Think about what that's worth. A 1 hour session with a financial educator costs anywhere from $100 to $500. That same depth of personalized explanation is available to you right now, unlimited at no additional cost. Now you might be thinking, can I just Google this? And yes, technically, but Google gives you a list of articles written for everyone. Claude gives you a conversation tailored specifically to your question, your situation, and your follow-ups. The difference in learning speed is enormous. Number two, building income streams faster. This is the one that's probably most directly connected to wealth building. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about Claude magically making you money. I'm talking about using it to compress the timeline of building something real. Let me give you a specific example. Say you want to start freelancing, using a skill you already have like writing, design, marketing, or coding. Traditionally, setting that up takes weeks. You need to figure out your positioning, write a professional bio, create service packages and draft proposals. You need to figure out how to price your work and write outreach emails. With Claude, you can do every single one of those things in an afternoon. You give it the context, your skill set, your target clients, your experience level, and it helps you build the entire foundation of a freelance business in hours rather than weeks. Same principle applies to starting a content business, building a digital product, or creating a course. It also applies to writing a business plan or drafting the first version of literally anything that requires writing or strategic thinking. The idea doesn't change, the execution timeline compresses dramatically, and in wealth building, speed of execution matters more than almost anything else. Number three, making better financial decisions. Here's something I find fascinating from a psychology perspective. Most bad financial decisions aren't made from a lack of information. They're made in emotional moments under time pressure without a clear framework for thinking it through. You're looking at a car you can't quite afford, you're considering pulling money out of investments. You're thinking about taking on a loan, you're evaluating a business opportunity. These are the moments where having a thinking partner is incredibly valuable. A partner will walk you through the actual math, ask you the right questions, and help you stress test your reasoning. Claude does this. You can literally describe a financial decision you're facing, give it your numbers, and ask it to help you think through the pros, cons, and math. It won't make the decision for you, but it will force clarity in a way that most people never get unless they pay a financial advisor a few $100s an hour. Number four, learning income generating skills faster. Look, one of the highest return investments you can make is learning a skill that the market pays well for. Coding, copywriting, digital marketing, data analysis, financial modeling. The problem is that learning these things traditionally takes months or years. Courses are expensive, tutorials are generic, and when you get stuck, you're stuck, waiting for a teacher, searching forums, or just giving up. Claude changes the learning curve significantly. It can explain concepts, give you exercises, debug your code, review your writing, correct your work, and answer every question you have in real time. Students learning to code with AI assistants are consistently reaching productive skill levels in roughly half the traditional time. That's months shaved off the timeline to a skill that could add tens of thousands of dollars a year to your income. Number five, systematizing your financial life. This is the least glamorous one, but it might be the most impactful over time. Most people's financial lives are reactive. They deal with things as they come up. A bill, an expense, a tax question, a financial decision. They never build systems because systems feel complicated to create. Claude can help you build them. A personal budget framework tailored to your actual income and expenses. A debt payoff plan with real numbers and a realistic timeline. An investment strategy appropriate for your age, risk tolerance, and goals. A savings automation system. A financial review process you actually do monthly. These aren't complicated things, but most people never build them because starting from scratch feels overwhelming. Claude removes the blank page problem entirely. The psychology behind why most people won't do this. Here's something that's going to sound a little uncomfortable. And I say this with genuine respect, not to be harsh. Most people who watch this video will not actually use Claude to build wealth. Not because they can't, not because they don't want to, but because of a psychological pattern called effort justification bias asterisk. Our brains have been conditioned to believe that valuable things require suffering to obtain. If something is free and relatively easy to access, we unconsciously discount its value. We think, this can't really be that powerful, or everyone would be doing it, but that's exactly the point. Everyone has access to this. Very few people are using it seriously, and the gap between those two groups, in terms of financial outcomes over the next 10 years, is going to be significant. The tool is not the advantage. The decision to actually use it intentionally, consistently, strategically, is the advantage. And that decision costs you nothing except the willingness to start. Real dollar example. What this actually looks like? Let me make this concrete with a real scenario. Meet someone, let's call her Maya, 27 years old. Full-time job earning $48,000 a year. Wants to build wealth but feels stuck. Not enough time, not enough knowledge, not enough money to pay for help. Month 1. Maya spends 3 sessions with Claude, total of about 4 hours, learning the fundamentals of index fund investing in language she actually understands. She sets up her first investment account and automates a $200 monthly contribution. She'd been wanting to do this for 2 years but kept getting confused and giving up. Month 2. Maya uses Claude to build a simple freelance copywriting offer based on skills she already uses at her job. Claude helps her write her bio, her service page, and her first 5 outreach emails. She lands one small client paying $300 a month for a few hours of work per week. Month 3. Maya uses Claude to understand how to optimize her tax situation. Specifically, what deductions apply to her new freelance income and how to set money aside correctly. She avoids a potential tax mistake that would have cost her several $100s. By month 6, Maya has a growing investment account. She has a side income that's now hitting $500 a month. She has a clear budget system. She has a level of financial literacy she didn't have 6 months ago. None of that required a financial advisor. None of that required an expensive course. None of that required connections or inheritance or luck. It required a tool that's freely available, and the decision to use it seriously. Practical takeaway. Start here. If you want to actually do this, here's exactly where to start. First, go to Claude AI and open a conversation. It's free to start. Don't overthink it. Second, describe your current financial situation honestly. Your income, your debts, your savings, your goals. Ask Claude to help you identify your single highest priority financial move. Just that one question alone is worth doing. Third, pick one of the 5 categories I mentioned and go deep this week. Learn a financial concept you've been avoiding. Use it to start building something. Get help thinking through a decision you're facing. Start learning a skill. Build one system in your financial life that you've been putting off. One category, 1 week. Then you'll see for yourself what this actually does. Instructions. 1. Split the script into multiple sentences. Each sentence should be its own line. 2. Do not combine sentences together. Keep each sentence as a separate line. 3. Remove commas. Remove commas from the text even if it's not grammatically correct. 99% of the time, commas should be removed. Only keep a comma if you really think it's essential for the flow, but this should be extremely rare. 4. Preserve the original text content but clean up punctuation, especially removing commas. 5. If a sentence is very long, 30+ words, split it at natural pause points into separate lines. 6. Each line should be a complete thought that sounds natural when spoken. Return the chunks as a JSON array of strings in this format. Lines. This is the first sentence of text. This is the second sentence of text. And this is a third sentence that continues the script. You should continue until the end of the script. Focus on creating chunks that will sound natural when spoken by a voice AI system like 11 Labs. Remember, do not combine lines and remove commas.